Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are getting into a document that really pulls back the curtain on affordable housing. It's the full policy framework from Habitat for Humanity's Bend-Redmond branch.
It's an incredible document. I mean, you have this idea of what affordable homeownership looks like. Sweat equity, you get a loan, you get the keys.
Right, a straight line.
Exactly. But this shows the intensely structured reality behind it all. It's all about making it possible in a really high-cost area like Central Oregon.
Absolutely. And for you, our listener, the mission here is to cut through all the jargon and pull out the core truths. What are the actual trade-offs? What is the real timeline, not the one you hope for?
And what are the rules of engagement? That's the key. This policy shows how an organization like Habitat has to manage, just immense risk and immense hope all at the same time.
That's a great way to put it.
And the policies we're about to dig into, they're all about setting these very clear boundaries. It's the only way to control costs while also managing the huge emotional expectations of a family building their future. It's a logistical masterpiece, but it is rigid by necessity.
Okay, let's unpack that rigidity. We have to start with the timeline. I think most people assume the clock starts ticking when the bulldozers show up. But this policy shows the biggest time sink happens way before any dirt is moved. How long is that initial sort of invisible planning stage?
That's the first big surprise, I think. Before any construction, the organization have to get all the designs through city approval. They need permits, reviews, all the sign-offs.
And that takes?
Well, the document says it typically ranges from 8 to 12 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks, so 2 to 3 months of just waiting, basically.
Waiting, yeah. And that's after the design work is already done. And the policy is crystal clear. Construction only starts after that approval, and after the funding for that specific phase is totally locked in.
So that's the real planning barrier. It sets this slow, kind of bureaucratic pace before the fun part even starts.
Exactly.
Okay, so you clear that barrier, they finally break ground. What's the benchmark for actually building a new home?
The official goal they aim for is about 23 weeks, on average. But, and this is a huge but,
There's always a but.
the policy immediately says that 23 weeks is, an ideal. It assumes zero outside influences.
Which is a fantasy. I mean, if you've ever built anything.
It's a complete fantasy, and this is where all the variables kick in. They're often coordinating work across multiple sites, maybe even building a few homes on a single lot.
Right, stretching the resources.
Totally. Then you throw in Central Oregon and weather, snow, frozen ground. You have volunteers. Their availability goes up and down. And, of course, they're hit by the same supply chain and contractor shortages as everyone else.
So that 23 weeks is really more of a goalpost than a guarantee.
That's the perfect word for it.
Now, I can hear someone listening and thinking, okay, but renovating an existing home has to be faster.
You'd think so.
But the policy says the opposite.
It does. It says rehabilitation projects are even more unpredictable. They can range from 2 all the way to 6 months.
Why is so much variation?
Because you just don't know what you're getting into. You open up a wall and, oops, there's dry rot, or the plumbing is ancient. Suddenly your whole timeline is blown out.
Okay, but the detail that really got me was the definition of finished. You get the city's certificate of occupancy, the CO. That's the magic moment, right?
That's what everyone thinks.
But the policy says not so fast.
Not even close.
Yeah.
This is probably the most critical piece of info for any family in this process. Getting the CO does not mean the home is ready to move into.
How much longer are we talking?
The policy details at least another 4 weeks of activities that have to happen after the CO is issued.
4 weeks? A whole extra month. What on earth are they doing in that time?
It's this crush of final bureaucratic and legal stuff. You've got the warranty walkthrough, a required third-party inspection, the final loan docs have to be approved, there's an appraisal. And then the most important part, scheduling and actually signing all the closing documents at the title company. None of that happens overnight.
So that difference between the CO date and the closing date is everything. If you're renting and you give your 30-day notice when you get the CO, you could be homeless.
You could. Or paying for 2 places at once. That's exactly why the policy has that very specific advice.
Yeah.
Talk to the staff before you give notice. Never, ever assume the CO date is your move-in date. That 4-week buffer is it's a non-negotiable reality.
Let's shift from the calendar to the design itself. It seems like the price of affordability is, well, zero personalization. What's driving these really tight design constraints?
It all comes down to land. The land is so expensive they have to maximize density.
So more families on less land.
Exactly. That means you see more attached homes like townhomes or duplexes, smaller footprints, often no garages, because that space is better used as living area or just removed to fit more homes on the lot.
So that standardization then dictates how a home gets assigned. It's not like you get to pick one.
No, not at all. The criteria are super pragmatic. You don't get to ask for a corner lot or a specific floor plan. It just depends on two things: the number of bedrooms your family needs and what size homes they have available in the pipeline. They match you to what fits.
Which means things like bedroom size and bathroom layout are totally non-negotiable. What if a family sees the plans and says, hey, can we just move this wall 6 inches?
The answer is an immediate and absolute no. The policy on upgrades or changes during construction. It's probably the most stringent part of the whole document.
And the logic, I guess, is sound, even if it's emotionally tough.
It's completely rational. They have these standardized designs to keep material costs down and make it easier to train volunteers. If they allow one little change like swapping a faucet, it just opens up a Pandora's box of change orders, special materials, new city approvals.
And it would wreck the budget and timeline for everyone.
It's for everyone. So the rule is absolute.
Yeah.
You follow the city-approved plans exactly as they are drawn, period.
But what about later? After the family moves in, what are the rules for modifying the home down the road?
This is so important because it shows the partnership continues. Basically, any interior change that needs a permit, and all exterior changes, and they list them out. Fences, pavers, landscaping, changing the yard slope. All of it has to be proposed on a specific form.
A home modification request form.
Right. And it has to be approved before you do any work.
That seems like a huge restriction, especially for something like landscaping. Why do they control that?
It's usually about community planning and drainage. If you change the grading of your lot, you could accidentally flood your neighbor.
Oh, right. Especially in an attached home.
Exactly. It's about protecting the whole community structure.
And what about adding on later? Building an addition.
The policy is very, very explicit on this. It says footprint expansion is highly unlikely. Because to be efficient, these homes are already designed to be as big as legally possible on that specific lot. They're pushed right up against the zoning rules, fire separation requirements, property lines. There's no room left to expand later.
So the lesson is, what you see is what you get. Forever.
Pretty much. It's the trade-off. You get the home, but you trade away the freedom to change the structure.
Okay, now let's talk about performance, because the policy goes into a lot of detail about building above code green. This isn't just about meeting the minimums.
No, this is a major commitment, and it really benefits the homeowner in the long run. The goal is to slash energy use, make the home more durable, and just have healthier indoor air. They're even working towards certifications like net zero energy.
How do they actually make sure that happens? It sounds complicated.
They rely on a third-party validator called Earth Advantage. This is key. It's an independent checker that does 2 extra specialized inspections on top of what the city requires.
So they're checking for things the city inspector might not even look for.
Exactly. They're verifying best practices for building science. How well the house is air sealed, the specific insulation levels, if the HVAC system is installed efficiently, all that deep dive stuff.
Which explains something I found really interesting, the donation policy. It says they can't always accept donated materials, even if they're brand new.
Yes, and that is a direct result of these green standards. Say you want to donate a new window. Well, if that window doesn't have the specific energy rating they need for their Earth Advantage calculation,
It throws the whole model off.
it throws the whole thing off.
Mm.
They need specific materials to hit their targets and pass those third-party checks. It's why donors have to contact the Vice President of Construction directly to make sure the item will actually work.
So it's not being ungrateful, it's about compliance.
It's all about compliance and ensuring those low energy bills for the family for decades to come. That's the real goal.
And you see that with their rehab projects, too. The focus is all on efficiency, adding insulation, air sealing, putting in Energy Star appliances.
Mm-hmm. And they do mention renewable systems, like
Yeah.
solar panels.
But with the big catch.
A very transparent one. It's explicitly tied to whether or not they have specific grant funding available for it. It's a goal, but not a guarantee in every home.
Okay, let's move to what is, I think, the most sensitive section, site access. You have a family, they're putting in their sweat equity, dreaming about this home.
All right.
But the policy says visiting that home outside of required meetings and volunteering is the exception, not the rule.
This is where the organizational liability really clashes with personal emotion. They have to treat it like any professional job site. It's all about safety and insurance.
Mhm.
Partner families just They can't enter the site without prior approval and a staff member there with them.
But couldn't that feel a little alienating? I mean, you're building your own house, but you can't just drop in to see the progress?
It's a great question, and it really speaks to the tension in this whole thing. But at the end of the day, safety has to come first. A live construction site is dangerous.
If someone gets hurt during an unauthorized visit, it puts the whole project, the whole organization at risk. So the policy is strict. You need to request a visit at least 24 hours in advance. No unscheduled drop-ins, ever.
And the rules for being on site are just as strict. Closed-toe shoes, long pants, signing a waiver.
Yep, and they're serious about it. The policy warns that if you violate the rules, you can be removed from the site, have your access suspended, or even have your whole partnership reviewed.
Wow, it's a hard line.
It has to be.
But the policy does guarantee 4 specific access points. And if you're a partner family, you need to know these. What's the first one?
The first is a required class called Building Blocks. This is early on. It's where you go over the floor plan, the site plan, you learn about easements, parking, the energy systems. It's kind of the big picture overview.
Then you get to see the actual structure, which I have to imagine is the most important meeting.
It is.
Oh.
This is the second one, and for you, the learner, this is the most valuable session, the pre-drywall walkthrough.
Okay, so this is before they cover everything up.
Exactly. It's after the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC are all roughed in. This is your one and only chance to see the bones of your home.
So you can see where the studs are, where the pipes run.
All of it. And the policy specifically says you can take measurements here, you can figure out if your fridge will fit, see where the outlets are. It's vital information because once that drywall is up, you can't make any changes.
So it's your last chance to really understand the physical structure before it's sealed away forever.
That's it. The third opportunity is just the standard home inspection, which they have a right to.
Right. And the final one, before closing.
That's the new home orientation. It happens after the SUCO is issued, but before you sign the final papers, is where the construction team walks you through how to maintain everything. The heating system, how to shut off the water main, how to submit a warranty request. It's the owner's manual session.
And then right up to the very last second, the policy is in control. No moving anything in, not even a box, until the closing documents are officially signed and recorded.
It's all about structure and liability, right to the end. And that structure continues. The policy reminds new homeowners that ongoing maintenance is essential to preserve the home's value and, fight that stigma that habitat homes aren't cared for. They even offer support for that. The partnership is long-term.
So when you put it all together, we started with this simple idea of homeownership, and we found a process that's incredibly complex. The timeline is super variable and can go 4 weeks past that CO date. The design is rigid standardization with a permanent no changes policy, and site access is a structured privilege, all governed by safety.
The entire policy, really, it just reveals this deep tension. The tension between standardization, which you absolutely need for affordability, and that very human desire for personalization, for ownership. So given that you can't change anything during construction, and you probably can't expand later, it leaves you with a provocative thought. If you were that partner family, knowing the design is fixed, where would you focus all of your energy? Where would you ask your most detailed questions? And why would that pre-drywall walkthrough be the single most valuable hour of the entire journey? That's something to chew on until our next deep dive.